This game's really fun. Hope I end up finishing it. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and we're going to do a little bit of a different video today because, you know, Black Friday and Cyber Monday just came upon us, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on sale. But one of the biggest items that people, at least people I know, tend to buy on Black Friday are video games. And for very good reason. Video games are expensive, they're fun, and a lot of them go on sale during Black Friday, and with the way the sales are, it's technically like getting a few of them free if you buy enough of them. So, I bought a lot of games, you know, for Black Friday. I know other people who bought several games. And while I am enjoying playing Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4, and I'm sure I will love Inside and Limbo and the Mega Man Legacy Collection, the Mega Man X Legacy Collection for the Xbox One, it does make me think of when my dad told me years ago that video games have a shelf life. And they really do. Once you play them, it's very unlikely you're going to pick them back up and play them again. That's not true with every game, but in most cases, most of those games you end up holding on to them until they either become valuable or they've gone way beyond losing their value, and then they're not even worth throwing away, so you just keep them. But with today's video, I kind of want to do something different. I have selected 10 games, more or less, that I love, or at the very least liked, that I have not gotten around to ever finishing. And I'm going to share these games with you, and maybe we will have a moment where it's like, oh yeah, I should finish that too. Or I'm going to have a few, are you kidding? Why didn't you finish that game? This is just going to be a fun video. It doesn't necessarily have much to do with rideshare. It actually doesn't have anything to do with rideshare or the gig economy. It's just something I want to talk about. It's going to be a fun list. Now, this is not necessarily a top 10 list, even though I've picked 10 games. More or less, you'll see what I mean in a moment. But, you know, we're just gonna show. There's not even any particular rhyme or reason to the order. You know, nothing about how much I regret or whatever. We're just gonna have fun. So with that, let's get started. And the first game I want to talk about is this one. Actually, no, it's not. I've actually never played this at all. I just need this because what I really want to talk about is Xenogears, which I do own, but I have it as a download on the PlayStation Vita. And I just needed something visual. This is the only game I need to have a substitute for. But Xenogears is considered one of Square Enix's most underrated RPGs, and I kind of understand why. It was a mecha RPG with anime-inspired characters that also touched very heavily on religious themes. The very opening scene of the first cutscene is, I am the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end, which is a quote from the Book of Revelation of the Bible. Now, I've actually tried twice to play this game. The first time I remember renting it years ago in 2002 from Hollywood Video. I started it, I walked around the village a little bit, and then I think I got bored. Even though I was a huge RPG fan, I just didn't continue it, and I kind of let it go. And it's one of those things that you regret because you find out years later that it's very, very, very rare and very valuable. Hence why I don't have a physical copy of it on PlayStation. I think I had it briefly for a while, but it sold for so much money and I was strapped for cash, I just sold it. Well, when I got it for the PlayStation Network, it was on sale for like $5. I tried it again. I got considerably farther and was definitely feeling like, oh man, that I definitely missed out. And yet something happened in life. I don't know if I got stuck or if there was like a job opportunity or maybe I was depressed. I don't know. Most of the time, video games help with my depression. It keeps my mind busy. But Xenogears is such a bleak and weird experience. Like, it really tackles some tough issues, and it's not easy. And so, if in the bad frame of mind, it can feel like work. And I remember at one point, it just wasn't fun anymore. So I put it down, and I never picked it back up again. My progress is still saved. I don't know if I even know where to go anymore, but it is a game I'd like to finish, but to this day, haven't finished it. Now, another game that I didn't finish that I was actually enjoying quite a bit, and then I think there was a tough boss that occurred, and I just stopped, was Metal Gear Rising. Now, I know Raiden is a controversial character for the Metal Gear Solid series. Personally, I love Metal Gear Solid 2. I didn't think Raiden was that bad, and having him in his own action hack and slash game made a lot of sense. I know a lot of people really disregarded this because it's like, oh, well, it's a hack and slash. Metal Gear Solid is a stealth game. It's tactical espionage action, which is true. But again, this is a different character. And since he is a ninja, it's not entirely out of character for a spin-off game to be a little bit more action-oriented. And this certainly made a lot more sense in the whole Metal Gear canon than Metal Gear Survive did. But I remember enjoying this quite a bit. I might even play a little bit of this when I finish making this video, because I feel like out of all the games on this list that I'm talking about, this is the one I have the best shot at actually finishing. I just remember it was an adrenaline rush, but I think there was like a tough boss fight. I got frustrated and I put it down and I never picked it back up. And that happens sometimes. Another RPG, and there's going to be a few on this list, admittingly, that I didn't finish that I really wish I had, was Lunar 2. This very beat up copy, like this is probably going to make some of you people watching cry, because this is normally supposed to be worth a lot of money, but whoever was the previous owner of this did not take good care of it. Nevertheless, it did cost me $30 when it came out, and it did come with most of the stuff. But here's the weird thing about this, because I was very, very late to this. I actually had just completed the first Lunar, which was remastered for the PlayStation, the PSP, 2 years ago. I played it, I loved it, and I kind of came across this just before I finished the first game and bought it because I know that they didn't remaster this. And what's really interesting about this is one of the few RPGs that actually is a direct sequel to the game. So it was continuing the story. I mean, it still had a different cast of characters, but it referenced the first game quite a bit. And for some reason, I remember I got to like this circus or fair type thing, and the mini games were just fairly boring, I remember, and I just kind of stopped, and I haven't picked it up since. And it bothers me. You know, just looking at this case, I mean, this really does make me want to cry, because this is pretty much almost the complete. There's the soundtrack. There's this is one of like the little books. What is this? I forgot. What is? Oh, it's the map. Something here. I don't know what these are exactly. And probably this is actually what makes the set pretty valuable. The pendant. That's what makes this set especially valuable. I know that the outside case has definitely seen better days, of course. But yeah, this is one that I would also, well, I'd like to finish all the games on this list. But this is another one where it's like, I think it was just like I got stuck at the wrong time on the wrong day, and then I just never picked it up again. Now this one's probably going to piss a lot of you guys off, but Jak and Daxter. Which one? Well, technically all three of them. I never finished Jak and Daxter. I got a little bit through Jak 2, liked it a heck of a lot more, I will say. And Jak 3 I just haven't played at all. I didn't own a PlayStation 2, really. I got it for the Vita. This is what they're coming. I actually like the PS Vita quite a bit. And I mean, I enjoy the games. They are fun games. I think one of my issues with games like this is that these are collectathon games. You need so many items to move on to the next world or the next level. And some of the tasks that they have you do are just absolutely insane. The trial and error that it requires to actually do them is mind-boggling. So I think this was just another case, kind of like Banjo-Kazooie years ago, where they had that stupid quiz blocking thing that always prevented me from finishing the game and beating the witch. That's an unofficial honorable mention, by the way. And with Jak and Daxter, in each case, I needed some more jewels or something, and I tried to do a mini game, and I tried so many times I just got frustrated and I stopped, and I just never ended up finishing any of them as a result. Now this game I haven't finished, and I have to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it's always bothered me that I never did finish this, and that is Xenoblade Chronicles X. Because, the other thing, a little story about the Xenoblade Chronicles. And by the way, the guy who, the studio that made, like, these games, I believe, made this. So, they do make good games. But I remember playing Xenoblade Chronicles for the Wii. I remember renting it through GameFly because GameStop was selling it for like $80, and I was like, I'm not going to pay $80. I was hungry for a good RPG on the Wii, but I was not going to pay $80 for a game. I decided to sign up for GameFly, which to my knowledge still exists, and it's definitely worth checking out, folks. And I rented it, and I figured, well, I'll just play it real quick and finish it. And then as I reached into the 100th hour of the game, it was like, the $80 is starting to make a little bit more sense now. But I love that game. One of my favorite games for the Wii. And I remember when it was Christmas time, I always put some games on the list. And I listed this was highest. My brother decided to get it for me. And I started playing it. And I have to be honest, I never really enjoyed it that much. I got through maybe 10, 12 hours and I stopped. And yet it bothers me because it seems like I should be having more fun with it. But one of the roadblocks to this game, I think, is that the battle system and the customization is so complicated and so deep. And the storyline not engaging enough that it's like, it feels like there's a mighty tall hill to get over before you actually start having fun with it. So I think there's probably fun to be had in this. I haven't gotten to there. And another honorable mention is that the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for the Switch, that is, the only reason that's not on this list is because I might still conceivably finish that one. But that's kind of in the same boat, although it is definitely more engaging than this was so far. But maybe Xenoblade Chronicle games, maybe that was just lightning that happened once and they're not going to be that good again. I don't know. But this was, I'm not in the biggest hurry to finish this one. Now, the next game, I'm truly surprised I never got around to finishing it. I didn't even get far enough to figure out that Bowser was the villain of the game, even though I probably should have known that. But it's Super Mario Sunshine. Here's the thing, again, this is not a bad game per se. I liked it. I liked the mechanics. The problem is, as with most people, what they say with it, it just wasn't fun enough. It was too long. It was still relying on Mario 64 style things. We had to get all these suns to progress. And the water pack thing actually got old. Not super quick, but quick enough where it was like, at one point it's like, okay, I sort of get it. There's not that much variety here. So I never really, it bugs me. I definitely would like to finish it one of these days, but it's just not on my radar at the moment. Speaking of GameCube games, as you probably figured out, I love RPGs, but one of the problems with RPGs, of course, is that they're long and they really take a commitment. And yet there is one GameCube game that is definitely considered an undisputed classic for the console, and that is Tales of Symphonia. And they are right, this is a very fun game. So far, Tales of Vesperia for the Xbox 360, and now there's a remastered version coming out for Xbox One and PS4. That is my favorite of the Tales of series so far. But I really, really liked this game. And I think what stopped me was that there was just another game that came out. Like, I think while I was in the middle of playing this, I think it was Final Fantasy 13 that came out. And so I kind of switched over and said, well, I'll get back to Symphonia later. And I played 13, and I played Final Fantasy games. I play the heck out of Final Fantasy games. They're my favorite series of all time. Keep that in mind. That might be important. And I just never came back to it. I think by the time I finished that one, because it took so long to finish it, another game I wanted came out. So this just kind of sat there. And this is another one that I think has a pretty good shot of eventually just me picking up, because I also have the sequel to this on the Wii. So it's like, I have a game that I haven't even touched because I have to finish this before I can even play that one. So I'm hoping that somewhere along the line there will be time to finish this one. Now, I'm not much of a survival horrorist type guy. I mean, no offense to the Resident Evil fans out there, but except for Resident Evil 4, I never really got into any of the Resident Evil series. But one game that I did like quite a bit was Bioshock. I got this as like a bargain like, I was late to the party again, but I got this as like a bargain game and started playing it, and I loved it so much I went out and I bought the sequel. It was like $10 before I even finished this. That ended up being a mistake because I never finished this game. And this is just another classic example of I was playing it, I was having a lot of fun, but then life got in the way, I stopped playing it. But the problem was, when I came back to this finally, it had been long enough where I didn't know where to go. I just purely did not know where to go. And that's the problem with some of these games, is like they are so intricate in the design that you have to know where you're going at all times. But if you leave it for an extended period of time and then you come back to it, there's just no doing it. You just cannot do that. So, I mean, this is fun enough that I'm sure that if I force myself, like, okay, start it over and make sure to finish it this time, I bet you I could do it this time. But now the hurdle becomes starting over. How far did I get? I think I got fairly far. And now just have to start it all over again. That's a major killjoy. I don't know how many of you have like played that game where you're making a lot of progress and you're getting pretty confident, so you're not saving. Then you die at a boss fight or you miss a jump and you have to start all the way back there, and you just turn the game off in frustration. Sometimes you don't come back. Sometimes you do, but it's such a slog to get through it. So the idea of starting this over isn't super enticing, knowing how much I have to do, but I would like to finish it someday. In this game, I truly have the most mixed emotions about, and that is Metal Gear Solid: The Phantom Pain. Now, I will give Konami this much credit. Even though I didn't like the fact that they did the Metal Gear Solid Ground Zero game, I believe it was called, which was essentially like the first level of this that they sold as a standalone game, it gave me an opportunity to really prepare for what I was getting into, so that when I got this, I knew it was definitely going to be different from the other games, in the sense that it was more open and it controlled very differently. So when I got it, that helped me get into it a lot easier. And I do like the gameplay, and I do like this game quite a bit. So why didn't I ever finish it? Well, really, I think it's one reason. I don't think the story is that compelling. It started out like it really grabs me when I start, but I think there's so many missions that, so many things you have to do before anything significant starts to happen, that it got tedious. And then as you go on, the world is just so big that it frankly overwhelmed me. So I just ended up not getting very far on this. And since this is like the last Hideo Kojima Metal Gear game that he made, again, it bothers me that I didn't finish this. But again, it's fun. It's conflicting me. It conflicts me quite a bit because I enjoy it, but then it's so big, it's daunting. So I just never got around to finishing it. But finally, and I did save this for last because out of all the games that I just talked about, this is the one that I regret not finishing the most. This is the one that I actually have lost sleep about not finishing, and I have actually picked it up several times to try to finish it, and it's just not working out. But Final Fantasy III. What edition? Any edition. This happens to be the DS version, but I also have a downloaded version on the Vita, which I like a little bit better, admittingly. But I've never been able to finish this. And this bugs me the most because, again, Final Fantasy is my favorite game series. Final Fantasy VII in particular is my favorite video game of all time. 6 is very good too. And I love 9. Even 15, I love 15. A lot of people criticize it, and it wasn't without flaws, but there was so much about that game that I like. I love the series because it constantly reinvents itself. I remember the first time I played 7, loving it to death, and then I got 8, and it was pretty disappointing in all honesty. But I really respected that they went in a completely different direction with a new cast of characters, a different world, and it caught some of the magic that when I decided to give 9 a try, I was sucked right back in. So I made it a point to play all the Final Fantasy games, and I even beat 1 and 2. But 3 is a definite struggle. And here's one of the reasons why. because the first 3 games, these were made for the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES as they call it, or maybe it's the NES, however you want to pronounce it. It doesn't matter too much. And those games were simple. They really were about one thing, fighting a lot of villains and gaining experience points. Now, that was obviously still there for later games, but it was even more so in the originals. So when they announced that they were remaking Final Fantasy III, I was like, okay, that's going to be great. You know, fix some of the problems. But here's the thing. They actually made it harder than the NES game. And the thing that really just stops me is how grindy it is. You get from one area and you go to the next. And you say, oh, you got to go to the mountains to find this person. You go in the mountains, and the monsters are so much stronger than you that you have to do a lot of grinding. That is walking back and forth, fighting a bunch of small monsters until you level up your characters ever so slowly. And then you get like several levels up, and now you can finally go in the mountains and maybe have a chance. And if you want a better chance, you better level up some more. Well, this takes a lot of time to do, especially since this has a job system that's just... I don't have time to explain it, but let's just say if you want to evenly level up everyone, it's just a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare. And so I got through a couple areas, but after you work so hard to get through this little portion of the game, then you got to go and you got to do it all over again. And again, this is based off a NES game, a Nintendo Entertainment System game. The storyline is not that compelling. It's rather simple and, dare I say it, trite, because they didn't have the technology they have today. If they were going to remake it, I wanted them to make the story just a little bit more engaging or make it just move a little bit faster. And so it has just always... I really feel like I should finish this just because it's like, I'm such a big fan of the series. Yeah, you need to watch them all. I don't know. I guess that's kind of like being a huge Batman fan and watching all the Batman movies, but not being able to quite finish Batman and Robin. You feel like you should finish it, but the reason you don't finish it is because you're not having any fun with it, or you're not enjoying it at the very, or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, this one has just like bothered me that I've never been able to finish it. So there you have that. And that's where we're going to end this video. Have any of you not finished these games? What are some games that you have never finished? Are there any of these games I should be putting particular focus on to make it a point to finish at some point in the future? I would love to know. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.